I work in an office and am 35 years old. My 6-year older spouse, Kevin, and I have been married for 9 years. For some reason right now, I live with my mother. Allow me to outline how I got into this state of affairs. Kevin and I once built a house years ago. Kevin had recently switched employment at that time, and our salary was not very high or any savings. Kevin used to work for a large corporation, but his manager bullied him nonstop. This led to insomnia, and finally he was unable to report to work. He visited a psychiatrist and took a 3-month hiatus, but he left his work when he didn't get better. We then proceeded on only my pay. Kevin stopped working 3 months ago, but he gradually began to feel better. His psychiatrist was happy with his rapid recovery when he started eating and sleeping normally once more. Back was my happy, devoted Kevin. He then began search for a new employment. His experience at the large corporation helped, but since he quit his prior work because of mental health problems, finding a job was challenging. We came on to a little business needing him around this period. The salary was about a third of what he used to make, but he was happy to be working again. He said it was much better than being without a job, which made me happy. This job was also in the field he wanted to work in. We wanted to have children, but it was clear that life would be tough if I stopped working, so I continued working. I also loved my job, and we decided not to have children at that time. Since it was just the 3 of us, our life was peaceful until my mother, Sarah, was paralyzed in a car accident and needed a wheelchair to get around. My dad had passed away when I was in middle school, and Sarah had been living alone since then. Our family home was old and not suitable for a wheelchair, with many steps. Kevin then said, "I'm worried. Let's live together." Sarah and I were surprised, but I appreciated Kevin's unexpected kindness. Since Kevin had just changed jobs, we were unsure about the future, but we decided to apply for a mortgage. As we expected, it was tough to get a loan because Kevin hadn't been at his job for long. However, we were determined and didn't give up. After trying with several mortgage companies, we finally found one that worked with us and approved our loan. We bought our dream home, which I had always imagined filled with the smell of wood, thick wooden beams on the ceiling, custom storage spaces, a kitchen tailored for my height, and spacious cypress flooring. Importantly, it was a single-story, barrier-free house, perfect for living comfortably in a wheelchair. We were excited as the house was being built and visited the construction site every day. When our carefully designed home was finished, it had a large yard where my mom, who now seldom went outside, could enjoy sunbathing. However, there was a catch with the land. It was given to us by Kevin's grandfather, who adored him. Kevin's family wasn't wealthy, but when his grandfather was diagnosed with cancer, he started to distribute his assets, giving us the largest plot of land. It felt like winning the lottery, but the land was just a 10-minute walk from Kevin's family home. When we told them my mother would be moving in with us, Kevin's sister laughed and said, "Why is your mother moving in too?" Kevin's mother told me marrying someone different like me would bring trouble. She also harshly said it was terrible for her son to have to care for an old person and called me a curse. Even then, Kevin stood up for my mother and me. He said the land was a gift from his grandfather and no one should complain. Kevin's mother and sister are really mean. It's amazing that Kevin, who is so kind, comes from that family. He's like a beautiful flower that grew out of mud. Kevin always says his family shows him how not to be. Kevin thinks his grandfather gave us the land because he wanted us to take care of his mother in her old age. He also gave other properties away. Kevin's sister got a parking lot that's a 10-minute walk from their home. It's smaller than our land, but makes good money from parking fees. Honestly, I would have preferred that, but a gift is still a gift, and we are thankful. Thanks to my grandfather-in-law, we could build our house without paying for the land and used it to help get a loan. When the house was finished, we invited Kevin's mother and sister's family over. The builders told us they had visited the house several times without asking us. They showed up late without apologizing and said, "This is kind of like Grandpa's house, so it's like our house too." Kevin's sister came in with muddy shoes and said the house smelled nice and didn't need air fresheners. She and her husband walked around with muddy shoes, ignoring the slippers we offered. When I suggested they use slippers, she laughed and said it was too much trouble and we could just clean the floor. The visit was uncomfortable from the start, and they didn't bring anything with them. When they saw my mother's room, which is spacious and sunny, Kevin's mother said she would like that room. My mother's room is like a duplex with its own kitchen, almost a second living space. "I want to live here," said my mother-in-law during the third point of her conversation. She then told my mother, "You were lucky to have that accident, weren't you? Thanks to being paralyzed, you moved from that old shack to this nice house. Isn't that a lucky turn of events?" My mother said nothing but looked very sad. I was really angry inside, but before I could say anything, Kevin spoke up. "What did you just say? There are things you should and shouldn't say. It makes me question your humanity. I can't even believe you're part of my family. You're the worst. Apologize now," Kevin demanded firmly. Whether they were amused or not, my mother and sister-in-law glared at me. Then my sister-in-law angrily asked Kevin, "What's this all about?" "It's a total turnoff. It's not cool to invite people over and then be rude to them just because you built a house. You think you can act superior?" The mother-in-law chimed in, "My son messed up by marrying you. You're a jinx." Kevin didn't stay silent. "Enough is enough. This mess started because of your rude comments. You said the accident was a good thing and called my wife a jinx. I will not forgive that." The mother and sister-in-law looked frustrated by Kevin's strong response. Then my mother, who had been watching everything, said with regret, "It's okay. I am here because of the accident, and it's true I moved from a rundown house to this beautiful one. Your son has always been kind to me." My mother apologized to Kevin. "Thank you." Perhaps feeling guilty, the mother and sister-in-law left, giving me a nasty look. My mother then apologized to Kevin. "I'm sorry if I upset your mother and sister. I'm sorry for ruining the mood at our housewarming party." Kevin responded, "No, I should be the one apologizing. It's embarrassing how they lack decency. I'm really sorry, but I am happy to be living with you. Please understand that." With that, my mother started to tear up. Since we live near Kevin's parents' house, the neighbors all know us well. They've known Kevin since he was a child and are very kind to us. 4 months have passed since that day. We were finally settling into our new home, and my mother started to smile more. Then I received an unexpected call from home while I was at work. We rarely get calls from home, so it surprised me. My bad feeling was right. My mom, sounding very upset, called to tell me something awful. Kevin had collapsed at work. I was shocked and spoke to my right away, then rushed to the hospital. On the way, I tried to stay calm by imagining that Kevin would be okay when I got there, joking around like always. But when I arrived, it was a shock to see him with so many tubes attached to him. We had planned to go to a movie that weekend. The doctor told me Kevin was in critical condition and might not wake up. I felt like I was in a movie. I couldn't even cry despite my prayers. Kevin passed away at the hospital. My shock continued as my mother and sister-in-law arrived when they heard Kevin had died. My sister-in-law accused me harshly, asking if I had poisoned him or if I was after his life insurance. My mother-in-law also blamed me, saying bad things always happen around me, and called me a jinx. I was too sad to respond. Then my own mother arrived in a cab, crying over Kevin's death, which finally made me cry too. We both sobbed loudly. My mother-in-law rudely told us to stop the fake crying. She said Kevin had changed because of me and that she didn't want to see us ever again. Then she left the hospital. A funeral director came to organize Kevin's funeral, and we went to the funeral home. Kevin had died from a brain hemorrhage, which was hard to believe since he was fine that morning. When I told my mother-in-law the funeral plans, she hardly said she wouldn't come because Kevin always sided with my mother and me. She said her daughter wouldn't come either. Many of Kevin's co-workers and friends came to the viewing, but neither my mother nor my sister-in-law and her husband were there. Many attended the funeral, and it was clear that Kevin was deeply loved. Many people cried for him. It was hard, but maybe this is just the kind of people his family were. I was happy to spend the whole day with those who truly missed my husband. After Kevin's death, I got an email from my mother-in-law, but it was inappropriate, so I didn't reply. She was asking about the life insurance money and kept emailing because I didn't respond. Eventually, she claimed she had a right to it. I chose to ignore it because I wasn't ready to deal with that. When we got home, I noticed a light on inside, which was odd. My mother, Sarah, was confused and thought we had turned off all the lights. I figured maybe I forgot because I was so upset. I told her it was understandable, given the situation, and I unlocked the door. When we entered, we could hear the TV, which was very strange. Inside, we found my sister-in-law and her husband sitting there. I was so shocked I couldn't even speak. The living room was full of unfamiliar furniture and boxes. We had no idea what was happening. My sister-in-law said, "Why did you just barge in here?" "Well, it's your first time, so I'll let it slide. We're taking this house. We sold your stuff, so leave." My mother and I were completely shocked. Asked where our furniture and belongings had gone, and she casually said a resale company came and took everything. She claimed we had good furniture, and they got a good price for it. They bought new furniture with that money, saying, "Who wants furniture that a dead person used? It's bad luck." She added that she cared about such things and our stuff was packed in boxes. She even remarked that we must be minimalists or just poor because we had so few things. The furniture was carefully chosen by my husband, and I couldn't forgive them for this. My mom was furious too, her face turning beet red, but she was too shocked to respond. I immediately called the resale company. After explaining the situation, they agreed to treat the items as stolen and return them. Now that my husband is gone, dealing with this was the last thing I needed. I don't want anything to do with his family, but I do want to stay in the house that's full of memories of him. While I was wrestling with these feelings, my mother quietly said to me, "What do you think Kevin would say if he were here now?" "He might say we should leave." I'm sure he would. Kevin often mentioned it's good to spend time with people who understand you, but there are some people who will never understand, no matter how much you try. It's a waste of time dealing with those people. He was actually talking about his own mother and sister. I realized that if we stayed, his family would keep interfering. Acting on impulse, I signed a lease for an accessible apartment. My mom was surprised by how quickly I made that decision. I asked the resale company to hold on to the furniture for a few days, and it was moved to our new apartment. 3 days later, in exchange for moving out, I made my mother-in-law and sister-in-law promise to cut ties with us. So a new life began for just my mother and me in the apartment. It turns out Kevin had many life insurance policies, almost obsessively. He used to joke, always with a smile, "When I die, you guys will be rich." True to his word, he left enough money for my mother and me to be comfortable for the rest of our lives. Since he couldn't secure a mortgage when we bought the house, being employed at a major corporation, I bought the house in my name. I made sure that even if something happened to Kevin first, I wasn't going to keep paying a mortgage for a house I wouldn't live in. According to our agreement, the house would be auctioned off if the mortgage wasn't paid for 4 months. Time flew by and 4 months passed quickly. Then I started receiving a lot of calls from my sister-in-law Emily and my mother-in-law Maria. My call history was filled with their names, and it was getting scary, like something out of a horror movie. They were incredibly persistent, so I finally answered the phone. They were furious because the house was being sold. Apparently, when they tried to return to the house, they found out they couldn't get in because of a seizure notice. Emily and her husband had moved out of their apartment since Kevin passed away, and Emily had also quit her job. I suggested they move back into their parents' house since they were panicking about suddenly being homeless. Surprisingly, Maria had gotten so caught up in gambling that she couldn't keep up and had sold her own house. It turns out they had been living together for the past 5 months. I also heard that they sold their main source of income, a parking lot in front of the train station, a long time ago. Now Maria and Emily's family are completely homeless. When Maria said, "I'm sorry for everything. Let's get along. Can you lend me some money, please?" I replied, "I think it's best if you stay away since I'm a jinx. We're strangers now that we've severed ties." Maria was quiet after mumbling weakly. In my mind, I was thinking, who's the real bad luck charm here? Then, when I said I wouldn't lend them a single cent, Emily, who had been listening next to Maria, shouted, "You devil! Bring us the money right now." "I am a devil and bad luck, so I'm going to hang up now," I replied and ended the call. In reality, I involved a lawyer for the past 5 months to push for the auction of the house. I thought it was an unusual case, but apparently it's not that uncommon. The house was sold without any major issues, giving our family a moment of peace. We plan to find a new home with the money Kevin left us. Since it's just my mother and me, we don't need a big house. We'd rather prioritize security as 2 women living together. So I chose a condominium with minimal noise disturbance. I remember something my husband always said when we built our home. People can get energy from the sun, so let's create a place where the mother-in-law can enjoy her hobby of reading in the garden without feeling self-conscious. With those words, he had made a spacious courtyard for her. So I looked for a condo with a large balcony where she could enjoy her coffee and read. It's smaller than our previous home, but the room is spacious enough to house the furniture. My husband probably chose the piece of land that was gifted to us by Kevin's grandfather. It was expensive, and the house sold for more than expected. With that money, we're moving forward. I recently bought a luxurious condominium with exceptional security features. It's a choice I'm sure would have comforted my always cautious husband, Kevin. The peace of mind that comes from living in such a secure place is invaluable, especially after the tumultuous experiences with my in-laws. Life has taken a dramatic turn since Kevin passed away. Amidst my grief, I've been dealing with the fallout from his family's actions, which frankly has been draining. Following the auction of the house, Kevin's mother, Marie, and his sister found themselves without a place to live. Despite their desperate attempts, including trying to borrow money from neighbors, they couldn't secure any financial assistance. They ended up in public housing. In public housing, they continued their old habits, causing disturbances that have started to concern the community. For instance, they recently had a barbecue on their small balcony, an act that left many locals in disbelief given the limited space and safety concerns. Such thoughtlessness seems typical of them and reflects the disregard they've always shown for others' comfort. Moreover, their financial difficulties appear to have led to frequent loud arguments that disrupt the nightly peace. It's an auditory testament to their ongoing strife. My sister-in-law's husband has since left, leaving just her and Maria to fend for themselves. Their situation is a stark contrast to the quiet, stable life I now lead with my mother. We're both 2-person households, but while my home is a sanctuary, theirs is a source of constant conflict and unease. It's become so disruptive that neighbors are banding together, hoping to evict them to restore some semblance of peace. It's a harsh reminder that no matter where you go, being a nuisance can make you unwelcome. Reflecting on these events, I realize how the phrase, "what goes around comes around," rings true. My goal is to live quietly and peacefully, distanced from the embarrassing turmoil associated with my former family. I believe Kevin watches over us, perhaps with mixed feelings about the chaos his family continues to perpetuate in contrast to the tranquility he loved during his life. As I move forward, my focus is on living a life that causes no trouble to others. I want to honor Kevin's memory not just through words, but through actions. He always advocated for a life well lived, surrounded by people who bring joy and understanding. Despite the unfortunate family dynamics he left behind, I'm committed to building a life filled with positivity and peace. The decision to buy this condominium wasn't just about finding a new home. It was about creating a haven where my mother and I could feel safe and secure. The quiet, the order, and the absence of drama allow us to enjoy each other's company and focus on the things that truly matter. It's smaller than our previous house, but every corner of this new space is cherished, and every moment of silence is savored. I've learned a lot about resilience and moving forward. The memories of Kevin, filled with love and laughter, inspire me every day. They remind me of the importance of living authentically and compassionately, ensuring that his spirit of kindness is carried forward. Living well is perhaps the best tribute I can offer to a man who gave so much and asked for so little in return. In this new chapter, amidst the serenity of our chosen sanctuary, I am determined to live not just for myself, but in a way that would make Kevin proud.
Hey everyone, I'm Jess, a 28-year-old graphic designer with a passion for creating beautiful visuals and apparently navigating the minefield of monster in-laws. Right now, I should be on cloud 9, planning my dream wedding to Mike, my boyfriend of 3 years. We met in the cutest little coffee shop downtown. It was a total rom-com moment. Imagine me spilling my latte all over his crisp white shirt. Instead of being mad, he just laughed and asked me out. From then on, it was like fireworks. My best friends, Sarah and Lily, have been absolute lifesavers through this whole wedding planning process. One evening, we were sitting in my living room, surrounded by bridal magazines and empty wine glasses, when Sarah brought up the dreaded topic. "So Jess, when are you going dress shopping?" I groaned. I've been putting it off. You know Karen's going to want to tag along." Lily rolled her eyes. "Mike's mom. The one who said your engagement ring would look better on a daintier hand." "The very same," I sighed. "It feels like she's been trying to sabotage this wedding from day one." Sarah leaned in, her detective instincts kicking in. "You know you don't have to invite her, right?" "I wish," I said. "But Mike thinks it would mean a lot to her, and I just want to keep the peace." Fast forward to the bridal boutique. My mom, Sarah, Lily, and of course, the infamous Karen were all seated on plush couches, waiting for my first dress reveal. I stepped out in a mermaid-style gown, feeling pretty confident. "Oh honey," Karen said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Are you sure you want to emphasize your hips like that? Maybe something with a fuller skirt would be more flattering?" I forced a smile and retreated to try on the next dress. And the next. With each one, Karen's comments grew more cutting. "That neckline's a bit low, isn't it? We wouldn't want people to think you're desperate for attention. Lace at your age. Don't you think that's a bit, yum?" I was about ready to call it quits when the consultant brought in one last dress. It was vintage-inspired, with delicate beadwork and a soft, flowing skirt. The moment I put it on, I knew it was the one. When I stepped out, even Karen seemed momentarily stunned into silence. My mom teared up, and Sarah and Lily were grinning from ear to ear. "Well," Karen finally said, her lips pursed, "it's not bad, if you like that sort of thing." I caught her reflection in the mirror and saw something dark flash across her face. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that plastic smile. "You look beautiful, sweetie," my mom said, squeezing my hand. I twirled in front of the mirror, feeling like a princess. "I think this is it," I breathed. "Are you sure you don't want to sleep on it?" Karen interjected. "It's such a big decision. You wouldn't want to rush into anything." Part of me wanted to buy the dress right then and there just to spite her, but I hesitated. It was a lot of money, and Mike and I were trying to stick to a budget. You know what? Maybe you're right, Karen. I'll sleep on it and come back tomorrow. As we left the boutique, I couldn't shake the feeling I'd made a mistake, but I pushed it aside, focusing on the joy I felt in that dress. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow I'll come back and make it official. The next morning, I woke up feeling like a kid on Christmas. I practically skipped through the doors of the boutique. Good morning. I'm here to purchase the dress I tried on yesterday, I said, practically beaming. But the saleswoman's face fell and my stomach dropped. I'm so sorry, but that dress was sold this morning. What? No, that can't be right. I was going to buy it today. I'm afraid someone came in right at opening and purchased it. I'm so sorry. I stumbled out of the boutique in a daze, fumbling for my phone. Sarah picked up on the second ring. They sold it, Sarah. Someone bought my dress. No way. Are you serious? That's messed up. I spent the next hour on a three-way call with Sarah and Lily, venting my frustration. They were supportive, but I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. A week later, we had our monthly family dinner with Mike's parents. I was still bummed about the dress, but tried to put on a brave face as I set the table. When the doorbell rang, I plastered on a smile, but the moment I saw Karen, my jaw dropped. She was wearing my dress, the exact one I'd fallen in love with at the boutique. Surprise? Karen trilled, twirling in the doorway. What do you think? I just couldn't resist when I saw it in the window. I was speechless, my mind reeling. Mike's dad followed her in, looking uncomfortable. Mom, Mike said, sounding confused. Isn't that the dress Jess was going to buy? Oh, is it? Karen asked, her eyes wide with fox innocence. I had no idea. It just called out to me, and it's perfect for our vow renewal ceremony in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? I finally managed to choke out. But that's right before our wedding. I know. Karen clapped her hands together. Won't it be wonderful? Like a pre-celebration for your big day. I could feel tears pricking at my eyes. Karen, how could you? You knew I loved that dress. Now, Jess, she said, her voice sickly sweet. I'm sure there are plenty of other dresses out there. Don't be so dramatic. Dramatic? My voice was rising. You bought my wedding dress for your vow renewal. It's not your wedding dress, Karen snapped back. You hadn't purchased it yet. And really, it's much more appropriate for someone my age. You're young. You should be wearing something more youthful. I turned to Mike, desperate for support. Mike, can you believe this? But Mike just looks uncomfortable. Come on, Jess. I'm sure my mom didn't mean any harm. Isn't it nice that they're renewing their vows? We should be happy for them. I feel like I've been slapped. Are you kidding me? Your mother deliberately bought the dress she knew I wanted. Jess, you're overreacting, Mike says, his voice turning stern. It's just a dress. And Mom's right, there are plenty of others out there. Just a dress? I can't believe what I'm hearing. That was my dream dress, Mike, and your mother knew it. She's been trying to sabotage our wedding from the start. Now that's enough, Karen interjects, her tone icy. I won't stand here and be accused of such things. Mike, are you going to let her talk to me like this? Mike turns to me, his expression hardening. Jess, I think you need to calm down and apologize to my mother. That's the final straw. I feel something break inside me. Without another word, I grab my keys and head for the door. Where are you going? Mike calls after me. Anywhere but here, I snap, slamming the door behind me. As I drive away, tears stream down my face. I realize I've been betrayed by not just Karen, but Mike too, and I have no idea where to go from here. I end up at Sarah's apartment, a blubbering mess. As soon as she hears what happened, Lily rushes over. Before long, we're all huddled on the couch. I can't believe she did that. Sarah fumes, and Mike just stood there and let it happen. I nod miserably. He told me I was overreacting. Can you believe it? Lily shakes her head in disbelief. This is beyond messed up. There's got to be something we can do. Sarah gets that look in her eye, the one she gets when she's on a case. As a PI, I've seen my fair share of monster-in-laws, but Karen, she takes the cake. I bet if we dig a little, we might find some skeletons in her closet. I don't know. I hesitate. That seems a bit extreme. Extreme? Lily scoffs. She stole your wedding dress, Jess. This woman needs to be taken down a peg. I bite my lip, considering. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to look. Lily cracks her knuckles. Leave the tech stuff to me. I'll have her accounts cracked faster than you can say mother-in-law from hell. For the next few days, we dig deep into Karen's past. Sarah uses her PI contacts while Lily works her tech magic. Meanwhile, I'm caught in a storm of Karen's meddling. She's changing wedding vendors behind my back, spreading rumors about me to Mike's family. Did you hear what Karen told Aunt Mildred? I vent to Sarah over the phone. She said I'm only marrying Mike for his money, as if I don't have my own career. That witch. She's unbelievable, Sarah growls. But hey, I think we've hit pay dirt. You're not going to believe what we found. I head over to Sarah's place where she and Lily are huddled over a laptop. Okay, spill, I say, plopping down next to them. Lily turns the screen toward me. Remember Mike's ex, Amber? Turns out Karen sent her a series of nasty emails, pretending to be Mike. That's why they broke up. My jaw drops. Are you serious? Sarah nods grimly. And that's not all. We found out she's been embezzling money from the family business, funding her lavish lifestyle by cooking the books. I feel like I've been punched in the gut. I can't believe this. Should we tell Mike? Lily snorts. Tell Mike? Jess, he hasn't believed a word you've said about his mom so far. Why would he start now? She's right, and I know it. Every time I've tried to talk to Mike about Karen's behavior, he's brushed me off or accused me of exaggerating. So what do we do? I ask, feeling lost. Sarah leans forward, her eyes gleaming with determination. We expose her, at the vow renewal ceremony, in front of everyone. I hesitate. But that could ruin my relationship with Mike. Lily's voice softens. Honey, I hate to break it to you, but Karen's already doing that. And Mike's letting her. I think about all the times Mike has sided with his mother over me, all the times he's invalidated my feelings. Maybe Lily's right. Okay, I say, taking a deep breath. Let's do it. Let's expose Karen for who she really is. We spend the next week gathering evidence, emails, financial records, even recordings of her bad-mouthing family members. We compile it all. The night before the vow renewal ceremony, we meet for one final planning session. Are you sure about this, Jess? Sarah asks, giving me one last chance to back out. I think about Karen in my dream dress, about Mike's constant dismissal of my feelings, and about the future I'd be signing up for if I don't do something now. I'm sure, I say, my voice stronger than I feel. It's time Karen faced the consequences of her actions. As I lay in bed that night, I can't help but wonder, am I doing the right thing, or am I about to make the biggest mistake of my life? The day of Karen's vow renewal arrives, and I'm a bundle of nerves. Sarah, Lily, and I arrive at the venue, dressed to kill and ready for action. As Karen glides down the aisle in my dream dress, Lily gives me a subtle nod. She's in the AV system. Just as Karen reaches the altar, the screens around the venue flicker to life. Suddenly, Karen's voice fills the room. Of course, I sabotaged Mike's relationship with Amber. That girl wasn't good enough for my son. The crowd gasps. Next, financial records appear, clearly showing Karen's embezzlement from the family business. Then, screenshots flash up, showing Karen badmouthing various family members. The final blow comes as a recording plays of Karen admitting to buying my wedding dress just to spite me. Chaos erupts. Karen's husband, red-faced and furious, demands answers. Mike stands frozen, his face a mask of shock and betrayal. Karen tries to deny everything, but the evidence is irrefutable. In her panic, she stumbles, tripping over the stolen dress. She falls face first into the wedding cake, ruining both the gown and her makeup. Covered in frosting and mascara running, Karen looks around helplessly as her husband storms off, shouting about divorce. Mike approaches me, eyes pleading. Jess, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. But as I look at him, something clicks inside. No, Mike, you shouldn't have needed all of this to believe me. I deserve someone who trusts me, who stands up for me. I slip off my engagement ring and hand it to him. I think it's best if we end this here. As Mike walks away, shoulders slumped, I feel a weight lift off my chest. Ready to get out of here? Sarah asks. I nod, smiling, more than ready. We head to our favorite bar, where we toast to new beginnings and true friendship. As we clink glasses, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. For the first time in months, I look truly happy. Meanwhile, across town, Karen faces the consequences of her actions, alone. Her reputation in tatters, her marriage over, and her son finally seeing her true colors. As I sip my drink, surrounded by friends who have always had my back, I realize I've gained something far more valuable than a wedding dress or a toxic relationship. I've gained self-respect and the knowledge that I'm strong enough to stand up for myself. And really, that's the sweetest karma of all. Now we turn it over to you. If you were Jess, would you have forgiven Mike and given him another chance? Or do you think ending the engagement was the right call? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey everyone, I'm Yelena, 28 years old, and I thought I had my life all figured out. I've been crushing it as a computer engineer at a cutting-edge tech startup in the city. We're working on groundbreaking cybersecurity technology that could really change the game. But life, as it turns out, loves throwing curveballs when you least expect it. I was in the break room, grabbing my third coffee of the day, when Marcus, my work bestie, walked in, grinning from ear to ear. Yelena, you're not going to believe this. We just landed that government contract. I nearly spilled my coffee. No way. We've been working on that pitch for months. He nodded, still grinning. Looks like all those late nights finally paid off. We should celebrate. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. It was Tom, my fiancé. Hey babe, don't forget we've got dinner with my parents tonight. I groaned inwardly. Don't get me wrong, I love Tom. But his parents can be a lot. Thanks for the reminder. I'll be there, I replied, trying not to sound too exasperated. Just as I hung up, I noticed another email notification. Another one of those weird cryptic messages I've been getting for weeks now. They always hinted at some big family secret. I tried to shake it off, but something about them gave me the creeps. Later that evening, I found my mom in the kitchen, aggressively chopping vegetables. Mom, we need to talk about these emails I've been getting, I said, showing her my phone. She barely glanced up. What emails? These, I said, scrolling through the cryptic messages. They keep mentioning some family secret. Do you know anything about this? Her hand slipped, nearly cutting herself. It's just spam, Yelena. Delete them and forget about it. But something in her voice was off. Mom, if there's something I should know. She slammed the knife down, cutting me off. Drop it. Why do you always have to dig into things that don't concern you? I stepped back, stunned. Fine, whatever. I'm going to Tom's parents for dinner. Don't wait up. As I drove to Tom's, my mind raced. What was my mom hiding, and why was she so defensive about it? The dinner, as expected, was awkward. Tom's mom kept dropping hints about grandkids, and his dad drilled me with questions about my job stability. By the time dessert came, I was ready to leave. Then, everything went sideways. I took a bite of the pie and immediately felt my throat tighten. Panic set in. I was having an allergic reaction. I could hear Tom's voice, distant and panicked. Yelena, what's wrong? I could barely choke out, hospital. Now. The last thing I remembered was Tom's dad frantically calling 911 as everything started to blur. The ambulance rushed me to the ER, my breathing shallow, my throat closing. Through my fading vision, I saw a doctor approach, glancing at my chart. I'm Dr. Hawthorne, he said, his voice oddly tense. He glanced at my last name and suddenly froze. He stepped back abruptly. Dr. Stevens, take over. I have another urgent case. I wanted to scream, to ask why he was leaving, but I couldn't speak. The new doctor, Dr. Stevens, injected me with something, and gradually, I could breathe again. Just as I started to recover, Tom burst into the room, his face pale with worry. Yelena, are you okay? What happened? I tried to tell him about the doctor who left, but I was too weak. Tom stormed out, and I heard raised voices in the hallway. What kind of doctor just leaves his patient like that? She could have died. When I was stable enough to leave, Tom helped me check out, but I was furious. Something wasn't right, and I was determined to get to the bottom of it. Over the next few days, I used every trick I knew as a computer engineer to dig into Dr. Hawthorne's past. What I found chilled me to the bone. Buried in an old, abandoned social media account was a photo of him, years younger, with his arm around my mother. They looked happy, like a couple in love. I confronted my mom that evening, my hands shaking as I held up the photo on my phone. Mom, who is this man? And don't lie to me. She paled, sinking into a chair. Yelena, I never wanted you to find out like this. Find out what? I demanded, my voice rising. Who is he? She took a deep breath. Richard. Dr. Hawthorne. He's my ex-husband. He's your biological father. The room spun. I felt sick. What? Why didn't you ever tell me? He left when I told him I was pregnant, she said, tears filling her eyes. He didn't want anything to do with us. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? I laughed bitterly. He nearly let me die in that ER. And you've been lying to me my entire life. Yelena, please let me explain, she begged. But I couldn't stay. I was already heading for the door. I don't want to hear it. I can't be here, right? I drove to Tom's place, tears blurring my vision. When he opened the door and saw my face, he pulled me into a tight hug. Babe, what's wrong? What happened? Through my sobs, I told him everything. The photo, my mom's confession, the years of lies. I can't believe it, I said, wiping my eyes. My whole life has been a lie. And that man, my father, he just left me there in the ER. He knew who I was, and he still walked away. Tom held me tighter. You can stay here as long as you need. We'll figure this out together, okay? I nodded, feeling hollow inside. That night, I drifted into an uneasy sleep, haunted by the thought that this was only the beginning. There had to be more to this story, more secrets buried in my family's past. And I was going to uncover every last one of them, no matter the cost. Using every cybersecurity trick I knew, I hacked into old email accounts, desperate for answers. What I found made my stomach turn. Years of hush money payments from Dr. Hawthorne to my mom, along with threats to keep her silent if she ever told me the truth. It was all there in black and white. Yelena, you need to let this go, Tom said one morning, his voice edged with frustration. It's consuming you. I spun around in my chair, glaring. Let it go. My entire life has been a lie. How can I just let that go? He sighed, rubbing his temples. I'm just worried about you, babe. This obsession, it's not healthy. But I couldn't stop. I needed answers. The next day at work, I pulled Marcus aside. I need to tell you something, but you have to promise to keep it quiet. His eyes widened as I spilled everything. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. Damn, Yelena, that's heavy. How can I help? I need to gather more evidence. Can you help me set up some secure channels? He nodded without hesitation. That's why Marcus was my best friend. But as we dug deeper, things got weird. Anonymous threats started showing up. First at work, then at home. One note slipped under my office door, read, "Stop digging, or else." Another warned some secrets should stay buried. At first, I tried to brush them off, but they were getting to me. One night, I showed Tom the latest note. Look at this, I said, handing it to him. His reaction was unexpected. He grabbed the paper and crumpled it up. Yelena, this has gone too far. You need to stop before you get hurt. His vehemence caught me off guard. That's when I started noticing other things. How he always seemed to know where I was, how tense he got whenever I mentioned my investigation. Something wasn't right. With Marcus's help, I set up a trap. I created a fake email account, supposedly full of damning evidence, and left it open on my laptop at home. That night, I pretended to go to bed early, but snuck back into the living room later. What I saw shattered my world all over again. Tom was on the phone, his voice low and urgent. She knows too much. We need to shut this down now. My heart pounded as I stepped into the room. Who are you talking to, Tom? He whirled around, his face pale. Yelena? It's not what you think. Really? Because it sounds like you've been spying on me. Who's on the phone, Tom? Is it Dr. Hawthorne? His silence was all the confirmation I needed. How long? I demanded, my voice shaking. How long have you been working for him? Tom's shoulders slumped. Since before we met. He hired me to keep tabs on you to make sure you never found out the truth. But I swear, I never meant to fall in love with you, Yelena. It just happened. I felt like I was going to be sick. So our entire relationship was a lie? Was anything real? My feelings for you are real, he pleaded. Please, Yelena, we can work this out. I backed away, shaking my head. No, we can't. Later, I sat in my apartment, surrounded by laptops and hard drives, my fingers flying over the keyboard. But instead of letting the pain consume me, I channeled it into determination. They wanted to play games. Fine, I'd show them how it's really done. You sure about this? Marcus asked, setting up the last hidden camera. I nodded grimly. They don't get to win. Not this time. Our plan was simple but effective. Using my tech skills, I created a fake medical file, a patient with symptoms that would require immediate attention from the head of the ER. Dr. Hawthorne wouldn't be able to resist. When he entered the exam room, the cameras were rolling, but instead of a patient, he found me waiting. "Hello, Dad," I said coldly. His face went white. "Yelena, what is this?" "This is me getting answers and evidence." What followed was a heated confrontation. Thinking we were alone, Dr. Hawthorne revealed everything. The payoffs, the threats, even hiring Tom to spy on me. It was all caught on camera. That night, I sent everything. The recording, the email trails, years of evidence of malpractice and ethical violations, to the hospital board and every news outlet in the city. But I wasn't done. Digging deeper into his financials, I uncovered a massive money laundering scheme involving both Dr. Hawthorne and Tom. One anonymous tip to the FBI later, and their entire operation came crashing down. I watched from my office as they were led away in handcuffs, their faces plastered across every news channel. My phone buzzed. It was my mom. "Yelena, please, can we talk?" I took a deep breath. "There's nothing left to say, Mom. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine." It wasn't easy cutting ties with my family, but as I looked around at my life, my promotion at work, the support group I'd started for victims of medical malpractice, the quiet dinners with Marcus that were slowly blossoming into something more, I knew I'd made the right choice. Months later, I sat in a courtroom as the verdicts were read. Dr. Hawthorne, loss of medical license, jail time for fraud. Tom, convicted of conspiracy and embezzlement. As they were led away, Tom caught my eye. There was regret there, maybe even a silent plea for forgiveness. I turned away. That night, Marcus and I walked along the river, hand in hand. "You okay?" he asked softly. I thought about it. The pain was still there, but it no longer defined me. "Yeah," I said, squeezing his hand. "I think I am." As we watched the sunset, I reflected on my journey. I had survived betrayal, lies, and manipulation. But more than that, I had come out stronger. The toxic people in my life thought they could break me. Instead, they only proved how unbreakable I truly was. The story ends here, but the conversation is just beginning. What would you have done in Yelena's shoes? Is cutting ties with toxic family members ever truly the right choice? Or should we always leave room for reconciliation? Share your thoughts in the comments below.